Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. On this episode, we're going to be talking about business planning for 2023, which I think is a very, very important topic. A lot of businesses out there are struggling. They need some support and advice, and who better to help us with that than Gary King from Tendo. Now, just before we begin, as always, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. And don't forget to click on the bell notification and subscribe so you can be pre-warned about all our upcoming episodes, which come out every week on a Tuesday. So, first of all, welcome, Gary King. Thank you for being on Bobble Pod.
My pleasure. Good morning.
I know it's quite early. We do record very early in the morning for those listening and watching. You'll see the sun is now actually rising up behind me. Tell us a bit about yourself. Give an introduction about what you do, your experience within the industry.
Yeah, sure. I spent 25 years working for other people. So I started life in a private manufacturing business, 40 million turnover. I was always mentoring apprentices and mentoring kind of younger members of the team. So I kind of love that giving back and sharing my knowledge. I left there and went to work for a FTSE 100 PLC business, a leading PLC business. And again, mentoring was a big part of what they did. Lots of training, lots of development. And from my perspective, I got the best of both worlds. I got the entrepreneurial side of an agile SME business, but then I got the rigor and the structure and the reporting from a large corporate business. But after 25 years working for other people, I got an opportunity to leave and set up my own business in 2010, which, if you remember, there was a recession then, all the banking crisis, there was a recession. And I just got an opportunity to leave. And there was a fire burning inside me that was just untapped. You know, I saw loads of businesses around me, loads of small businesses failing as a result of the banking crisis. Friends and family, you see them just failing in business. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And thankfully, within 10 days of leaving that job, I really wasn't 100% certain what I wanted to do, if I'm honest. And I got approached by a business that said, look, will you come and support us? We need some help with our growth. They were an Italian business that I knew through work. Said, look, we need some help launching our business and getting it off the ground in the UK. Will you kind of effectively run our business for us in the UK? Flew me over to Italy, agreed terms, and the rest is history. And essentially, I've been supporting small businesses to grow ever since. We're in year 13 now, and we've literally helped thousands of small businesses just get from A to B a little bit quicker than they would do without some help.
I mean, that's just incredible as experience. So I hope our listeners are expected to get a lot of insights and learnings on this episode. So in layman terms, I always say is what to anyone who's out there listening right now, looking to start a business or hasn't really thought about their business in that kind of sense, because you'll find, and I find it, even when I go in and I see businesses and say, oh, we need help with our marketing. I'm like, well, what are the aims and objectives? What are you trying to achieve from your marketing? Do you have a budget? How does that align with the business objectives as well? Because they have to go hand in hand. What is business planning when you put it down to, if you were to explain it or summarize it in a short sentence?
Really quite simply, a business plan is a sat-nav for your business. It tells you where you're going, how are you going to get there, how you overcome the obstacles that inevitably you get, and how you measure success. But to your point there, most business owners, they don't have a joined-up approach. So they may be looking at some help with the marketing, but they don't know how that aligns to the business objectives. Quite often I will get business owners come to me and say, we need help with our sales and marketing. And when you actually dig deep, it's not the sales and marketing they need help with, it's something else. So essentially, a business plan is just a joined up approach to how you get from A to B quicker than you would do ordinarily. So think like a sat-nav for your business. You know, most people that put the sat-nav on don't put the sat-nav on because they don't know where to go, because most times you know where you're going. What you do is you put the sat-nav on to see what's the quickest route and when am I actually going to get there? Because let's face it, we always want to beat the sat-nav, don't we?
I always get that. You know, when Google says estimated time of arrival, I'm like, let's see if we can beat this.
We all do. We all do. And it's the same in business. You know, if you set an objective, set a goal, set a financial target, you want to try and beat it ordinarily. What the business plan's going to do is help you navigate how you deliver on that goal or even beat that goal.
Right. So we're in a recession. It's 2023. The last 3 years have been a roller coaster from pandemic to a booming market in 2021 to a topsy-turvy market in 2022, and I've mentioned this a lot of times, and specifically a very difficult end of Q3, Q4 due to the government crisis. Now we're in a cost of living crisis, energy prices up the roof for businesses and consumers. Why is it so important for businesses to have that plan aligned now?
Do you know what? I'm just going to challenge you on this recession. I don't think there is a recession. I think it's really, really easy to look at the news and get all the doom and gloom. And actually, in the last quarter, there was growth. So actually, I personally don't think we're in a recession. Yeah, it's tough out there. I'm not suggesting it's not tough. It is tough. But let's face it, over the last 20 years, it's just been one thing or another. So business planning for me is about understanding, and you're going to get bored of me saying it, how you navigate those muddy waters that you've got in front of you. So whether it is COVID, whether it's cost of living crisis, whether it's Brexit, there always are and always have been challenges. What you've got to be able to do is have a plan that enables you and your team to be robust and more resilient in tough times. And the benefit of the planning process that we use, it's a single page. In corporate world and in actually the large SME that I worked in, the business plans were 40, 50 pages. And the directors would disappear off site and they developed this 50-page plan, and it was great, but nobody ever reviewed and updated that plan because it was a chore to do that at 50 pages. Ours is on a single page, so it's agile and dynamic. So as an opportunity arises, as a threat, is encountered, it enables you to review and update that plan dynamically. That's
interesting. How do you go from the process of turning that from a 50-page document to a singular page? What are the key fundamentals that's on that one page?
Firstly, I think a lot of business plans have got a lot of charts and graphs and history in there that is great in context, but it's historical. And therefore, for me, a business sat nav, if you think about the car analogy, looking forward, you've got a large windscreen. Looking backwards, you've got a small rearview mirror. So actually, if you're always looking backwards, the view is tough because you've only got a small rearview mirror. For me, you've got a large windscreen. And you can't control something that's behind you. And you can't control 2022 results. It's gone. You can't control December results. It's gone. What you can do is you can control what's in front of you. And most businesses tend to look backwards at how they perform the previous month or the previous quarter and say, can we do a little bit better? My view is, and again, it's trying to beat that sat nav, is that if you know what you're targeting in February, March, April, and you're on track, great, crack on. If you're not on track, do something about it. So adjust your strategy. So again, using that analogy of a business sat nav, you put your foot down if you want to try and catch up on time, or you take an alternative route. So for me, if you're looking forwards and you know what your financial goals are, you know what strategies you're going to adopt, then you can do something about it. So coming back to your question about what's on the plan, really, really simple. There's the three kind of main sections on this plan, broken it down. The first section is what I call foundations. You can't build a business, you can't build a building without solid foundations. It's a bit like Jenga, right? So if you're building a business on foundations that are not solid, you're gonna have some momentum. It's going to be great, but at some point, the momentum starts to mean that everything's going to topple down. So those foundations are really quite simple: vision, values, purpose, and market positioning. So if I just take those into the constituent parts, purpose is why you're building this particular business. Why are you building a digital agency? Why am I building a business planning and mentoring business? Not why are you in business? Why are you building the actual business that you're building? And it's because you want to create an impact. You want to move the needle. And for me, 95% of small business owners are failing. So I set out 13 years ago to change the dial on that statistic. I want to help as many business owners as possible have a plan so they don't fail at the same. Let's face it, it's a heartbreaking statistic. So you've got to dial into purpose first. And, Simon Sinek calls it your why. You've got to dial into purpose, because what happens with a business owner, going back to that unjoined up thinking, is that they're readily building a business, but without understanding what they want in terms of what puts fire in the belly every day. what financial rewards they want, what lifestyle they want. And if you get that purpose right, that will tell you that the strategies are actually correct or not. Because if you're working too many hours, not paying yourself enough money, and you've lost your mojo, then you're building the wrong business. So you've got to start with purpose. Vision, what does this look like 3 to 5 years from now? So what does success look like? How do you visualize purpose 3 to 5 years from now? Values is all about that alignment with your team. It's about that alignment with your service providers, and it's about alignment with your customers. And if you get your core values really understood and articulated, you're going to finish up with an aligned team that steps up when you want them to step up, a set of service providers that do the same, and a set of customers that are a pleasure to work with. And we've all had customers that are a pain in the arse, right?
Yeah.
And it's often because they're not value aligned. It's not anything you've done right or done wrong. You've probably just not qualified them well enough, or your process have allowed them to become a bad customer. So get your vision, values, and purpose in your market positioning, which is something you love in terms of who's your target market, why should they choose you, so what's your proposition, and what your brand for me is what your customers say about you behind your back. So if you get those, that's your foundations. Now you can start to build. You got to have a clear set of numbers that you're aiming for. So it doesn't matter whether that's revenue.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that like revenue or profit? Or
yeah, the different to every business. And the benefit of our plan is it is tailored to suit every business. Sometimes it might be average spend per client. It might be acquisition cost. It might be conversion ratio. It might be, if you're running a digital agency, it might be productivity. It might be your average fee that you charge per hour, or whatever it might be. So you got to have a set of numbers that allow you to measure the success of your strategies. And if you think your strategies are broken into 5 areas, so you've got sales, marketing, operations, finance, and team. So imagine these 5 cogs in a machine, all turning at the same pace, and you need all 5 of those to be going in unison. So what I call business growth indicators, so they're more forward-facing KPIs. What your BGIs have got to do is they've got to measure the success of each of those 5 strategies. So sales, marketing, ops, finance, and team. Then when you've got your numbers in place, what you then got to do is put those sales, marketing, ops, finance, and team strategies in place to help you achieve your numbers. Now, where businesses go wrong is if they're not hitting their monthly targets, they reduce the targets.
Yeah, you tend to see.
Yeah, so
tend to see that
if you're
happen.
targeting that you want to turn over 50 grand a month and you're only turning over 40 grand a month, what you finish up doing is you reset the target to 40 grand a month. My view is you shouldn't reset the target. If you're not hitting the numbers, it's because the strategies that you're adopting are wrong. So don't change the numbers, change the strategies that you're adopting that are stopping you hitting the numbers.
Yeah, we've got our clear targets of what we need to be doing per month by the end of this year. And it's in the 6 figures for the first time. So we should take us over to £1 million turnover agency comfortably. And then, like, part of the elements you were saying, I was like, yeah, I already know this, but I fall to it. I don't have it down on like a piece. I have it on like a board at home in my room. Like, this is what 2023, 2024, 25 looks like in terms of basic targets of what I want to achieve. Like an office in the UAE, an office in the US, a dedicated base in Europe, whether it's from Leeds, etc. So it's all there. But I think everything you're saying makes a lot more sense in terms of structured approach. What's the final third element?
Well, see, the 3 elements. So you've got vision, values, purpose, so your foundations. You've got your numbers, and then you've got your strategies.
Yeah.
So if you imagine that third element is your strategies, now it's great that you've got a vision board and you've got all these bits, but how can you expect any members of your team to really understand how they've got a part to play in achieving that success if you're not sharing what's on that board with them? So the whole part of a plan isn't you articulating what you want to achieve. It's being able for you to articulate to the team what the team need to achieve. So where business owners get this wrong, in my view, is that it's your plan that they're helping you deliver. It needs to be their plan that you're helping them deliver. So you got to flip it, because you can't do everything by yourself, right? Otherwise, you're gonna work too many hours. You're gonna drive yourself into an early grave. The reason you're building a team is you want them to do some of the legwork. So you should build a team that can deliver on that plan, and then you're helping them deliver on that plan. But if you don't share that plan with them, how do they know when they come into work this morning, this week, next month, exactly what part they're playing in that longer term journey? They can't.
That's good. When I always say this, if anyone who's listening who's a business, they might think, no, that's a lot of work, that might cost. Is there a cost to this apart from just taking some time out and putting it into practice?
Yeah, look, there is a cost. Obviously, my time doesn't come cheap. So, you're going to be looking at not an inconsiderable investment to develop a business plan. What we have done is we've developed an online version. So there's an online workshop where there's 6 business owners typically. So we run this maybe 3 or 4 times a year, where those 6 business owners can join. They can do it on Zoom effectively. So the output is exactly the same, but it's delivered in a way that makes it more cost effective. So I think that's like 750 quid. If you're doing it one-to-one, it's going to be several thousand. But what I have done is I've made the planning tool available to anybody that wants to download it. So they can just go onto my website and they can download that tool and they can get started themselves. So, for people that don't understand what the constituent parts of a plan are, that don't or can't justify making an investment for whatever, they might not have the money, they might not see it as a high priority, spending money on that, they can download it themselves free of charge and they can get started themselves. And I've got no problem with that.
And what we'll do is for our listeners and viewers, we'll put that link in the YouTube video description for everyone as well. And then we'll share it out when it comes out. But that's really, really good, because I always say that businesses should really invest into the elements that, yes, might seem like a cost up front but is really going to give them long-term value. So this is why I wanted you on board to kind of like say, right, it's start of 2023. If you're not aligned right now with your businesses, and this is the challenge as a marketing agency, we come across literally probably say 8 times out of 10 with a business. Very rarely will we have a business where everything's already in place. They have that whole one-page strategy in place. They know where they're going. They know what they're trying to achieve. They're like, this is where we are. This is where we want to be. They're not really looking back, but back has been successful. But it's like, right, these are our targets for the year. Help us in terms of develop our digital marketing strategy to get us to point A, B, and C, essentially. And it is like a roadmap, but basically you need to take, well, this is where you need support with these, the elements that you could improve, etc., and take it from there. What pain points do you find that businesses or business owners or SMEs in particular find when they're creating that business planning strategy?
Well, why do they come to me? They come to me because 80% of the businesses that come to me are suffering some difficulty. Now, it might be that cash reserves are getting a little bit tight because revenue's on the slide or margins are on the slide. It might be that they are working too many hours. So, there's this idea when you set out in business that, let's say for argument's sake, you're a marketing director in a corporate business, you're going to set up a marketing agency. It doesn't matter what you do. You're a technician business owner. You set up a business doing what you're trained to do. And you've got this dream that before long, you're going to have this handful of customers and you're going to be working a 3-day week and the money's going to be rolling in because I've been doing marketing for 20 years and it's a doddle, right? It's a piece of cake. The reality is nothing like that. So the reality is when you get 2 years in, you're working weekends, you're working evenings, your phone never switches off. You're constantly contactable. The money's not quite coming in. And you're stressed because you're worrying about team and where's the next customer coming from and why did the last customer leave you and why can't you get your prices up? And there's 1,000 reasons why it becomes stressful. And typically that point is at about 2 years because you think you can do it yourself in the first couple of years. It isn't until you get to 2 years in that it suddenly dawns on you that you don't have all the tools in your toolbox. So at that point, you've lost your mojo because you're not doing marketing anymore. You're hiring, you're firing, you're prospecting, you're networking, you're doing your receipts. And, I often tell a story. My relationship had failed. I'm 2-3 years into business. My relationship had failed. So I'm single. I'm sat there at 1 o'clock in the morning doing my expenses. I'd literally piles of receipts from the last 6 months because was I interested in doing my expenses claims? There was thousands of receipts everywhere. I was Googling the return mileage to Blackburn and trying to get the spreadsheet to reconcile. I'm thinking, there's got to be a better way. I didn't get into business to do this.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. You finish up doing all this stuff that comes with running a business, and there's very little time left to do what you're trained in and actually what earns you the money. So you've lost your mojo, you're working too many hours, and because you're not spending enough time delivering, then the money's not rolling in. And you become, I'm trapped. I'm trapped by the very business that I thought was going to free me. And it's at that point, 80% of the people that come to me go, I need some help because I want to work less hours. I want to earn more money. I want to be less stressed. 20% of the businesses that come to me are in a good place. But they go, do you know what? We're in a good place. We've got a great business. We've got a great reputation. We've got more than enough money in the bank, but we're coasting a little bit. And we just feel that there's untapped potential out there. We just feel that if we don't really have a go at this, there's a lost opportunity for us.
And there's opportunities for competitors to come in and just kind of like take a big share.
Well, if you don't go out and capitalize on your market, your competitors do. So that's why I'm saying there isn't, okay, I get the recession bit, I really do. Yeah. But, who made the money in the gold rush? Not the people on their hands and knees in the stream looking for gold. The people selling jeans, that's where jeans really come out, selling heavy duty cotton, people selling, buckets and spades. So in any recession, it's about finding where the opportunity is. In any difficult downturn, it's about finding where the opportunity is. I've got a client at the moment that was an electrical contractor that had a great business, 600,000-700,000 turnover. But the schemes they were getting involved in were drying up a little bit. The payment terms were out at 90 days. So they were struggling to get the cash in to pay the wages, to pay the staff. And it was a real difficult time. So at the beginning of lockdown, we sat down and said, look, we need to diversify here. We need to move away from these big 300-400 grand contracts. And quite often they'd do a couple of those contracts a year. And it was great. So what we did is we flipped and got into solar. Because of the energy crisis, because energy bills are going up, because people are now buying electric vehicles, you imagine a kind of 4 or 5 bedroom detached house of people that have got a little bit of wealth in certain postcodes. They want to put solar panels in, they want to put electric vehicle chargers in, so their energy bills come down. So we've now taken the business from 600 grand with long payment terms. They're now getting paid up front for all the materials. They get paid the rest of it when they complete the installation 4 weeks later. We did 1.9 million last year. And all we've done is we've flipped the business. It's exactly the same skill set, pretty much electrician. We did a little bit of training and we just repositioned the business to be supplying a different product into a different market. And we've trebled the size of the business and improved the cash flow.
It goes back to that podcast I did, Red Ocean versus Blue Ocean, trying to find that blue ocean element. And you're right, because I agree with you. I love the quote from the owner of Walmart when he was asked, what do you think about recession? He said, I thought about it, I decided I'm not going to participate. And that's what we're doing. Even though it's been very, very challenging the last quarter in terms of what Liz Truss did in terms of literally bring the economy to a halt to some degree. I always say businesses find a way in tough times and you can't really rely on the government. And I think you bang on there. You got to look at different ways to diversify. And we're doing the same thing, but you got to focus on what you're really good at and look at the opportunities there. Like, I'm not going to start offering a new service because that requires bringing in new people and elements. But we know our services can go into these sectors very, very well right now in terms of business that are trying to scale up and grow up. Because marketing is an opportunity in a low growth market, let's call it. Let's not call it a recession. It is, because I always find those people that invest into their marketing always come in difficult economic times, come out stronger at the end of it, because A, they'll learn more, and B, they end up creating new opportunities as a businesses and find more potential. And before you know it, you've got different arms to your business that are very, very cash productive.
Mm-hmm. And it is that there are always opportunities out there. There are 5.9 million small businesses in the UK. Do the ones that are investing, and invest is a key word here, not cost. It's the same with business plans. People that come to me and say, what's the cost? They're probably not the ones that are going to fly. The ones that say, how much do I need to invest to grow my business? Now, do you think a business that's gone from 650k turnover with poor cash terms to 1.9 million with really good cash terms sees a $4,000 business plan as a cost? No, they don't.
It's an investment.
They're talking about a solar installation that's 15 grand. So one quarter of that pays for their business plan. So it really is as simple as that. So, how many of those 5.9 million small businesses know that Bobble Digital exists? How
I'd like to say some.
But there will be many out there that don't know that you exist.
Yeah.
Like there's many out there that don't know I exist. Now, people say to me, Gary, why do you come on and do podcasts? I come on and do podcasts because I want to share the love. I want to share the story. But I want as many small business owners as possible to understand the benefits of business planning. And if they go and download the free tool and they go get somebody else to do a business plan for them, I don't care. I want as many of those small business owners that are currently failing at 95% to get on the business planning bandwagon. So it's all about educating them why they should choose you, what the benefits are, and what the ROI is on the investment.
So that leaves me just to quickly wrap up. So any quick tip for the listener to take away with? One thing you'd say, take away with from this podcast, what would you say?
Take the positives out of the market. There are literally many, many opportunities out there. It doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter whether you're into photography, digital, electrical contracting. Every single client that we've worked in the last 2-3 years through that recession has grown and grown significantly. And it's because there are opportunities out there. So, find out what that opportunity is, stay positive, and have a plan for you and your team to deliver it.
Heard it. Honestly, I couldn't have put that better. And I ally with the same thing when it comes to creating that noise and getting out there, which is why we're into season 4, believe it or not, of Bobble Pod. And you'd be surprised how many people say, oh, yeah, I listened to your podcast. And now they're reaching out to us saying, oh, I liked what you said about this in terms of elements. Can you guys help us with this? So you'd be surprised when you go out there. And I talked about it in the last episode in terms of digital trends video, that most of them were explainer videos, tutorial videos, which is exactly what people should be looking at. And it's an untapped tool. And if you're creating resources like you are online, it just goes back to what I was saying in the last episode, is that video is such a key element in terms of getting that knowledge. But when you need specialist knowledge, then yes, we will share the link to your downloadable guide. I think that'll help a lot of listeners out. I think that'd be great. But I'd like to thank you for joining us, Gary. That has been probably one of the best. I've learned so much from that myself, and I hope the listeners have. So thank you for joining us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
No. And thank you for everybody listening and watching on YouTube. We've got some more guests lined up over the next. We've got actually guests planned for the next 7 months, believe it or not, for Bobble Pod. It is a tight schedule, and we are recording every 2 weeks. But before I go, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. This episode launches on Tuesday, the 7th of February. So I hope you're having a good February so far if you're listening, and we look forward to catching you on the next episode. Thank you very much.